Imagine waking each morning to the gentle hum of bird song and the soft glow of sunlight, not the jarring thump of late-night music or the uneasy feeling that someone's watching every move. After decades of hard work, family gatherings, and community events, your home should be the sanctuary you deserve, a place of calm, dignity, and respect. Yet sometimes the very people who live closest, whether a neighbor who can't stop gossiping or a well-meaning relative who never says thank you, can upset that balance without ever meaning to. What if you could learn to spot these subtle disruptions before they steal your peace? In the pages that follow, you'll discover the 3 types of neighbors whose behaviors can quietly undermine your tranquility, plus the 3 kinds of family members who may draw on your generosity but never give back. You'll also gain practical strategies, from setting gentle but firm boundaries to creating your own personal sanctuary that empower you to protect what matters most. Whether it's negotiating quiet hours with a noisy neighbor or gracefully declining a relative's endless requests, these insights will help you reclaim control of your time, energy, and space. Ready to transform your living environment into the haven you've earned? Let's begin. The intrusive gossip. At this stage in life, most of us have learned the hard way that peace and privacy are priceless. After spending decades raising families, building careers, and managing responsibilities, our home becomes more than a place to live. It becomes our refuge. That's why it's so important to be mindful of the kind of energy we allow into our personal space. One of the most disruptive forces to a peaceful environment is the presence of an intrusive gossip. This is the neighbor who, often under the guise of friendliness, crosses personal boundaries. They may seem harmless at first, making small talk about the weather or community news, but very quickly the questions turn pointed, about your health, your children, your finances, even your visitors. And what you tell them doesn't always stay between the two of you. The real danger lies in what happens next. This type of neighbor tends to spread stories throughout the neighborhood, often adding their own twist or exaggeration. Suddenly, private details are circulating, and you're left feeling exposed or misunderstood. That sense of violation can weigh heavily, especially for older adults who may already feel more vulnerable or value a slower, quieter lifestyle. It's unsettling to wonder who knows what about your personal life, or to feel as though you're constantly being watched or judged. To protect yourself, it's important to set gentle but firm boundaries. There's no need to be rude, but there's also no need to overshare. Keep conversations friendly, yet superficial. Talk about shared interests like gardening, books, or local events. Safe, impersonal topics. When they press for more, it's perfectly okay to deflect. A simple, "Oh, I like to keep that private," or "We're still figuring things out," can do the trick. Change the subject, or politely excuse yourself if the conversation turns uncomfortable. And if they tend to linger or drop by unexpectedly, don't hesitate to limit the interaction. You're not obligated to entertain anyone who makes you uneasy in your own home. You may also want to create physical and emotional boundaries. Avoid situations where you feel trapped in a conversation. And don't be afraid to reduce contact if the gossip continues. Sometimes people need to be taught, by example, what topics are off limits. With time, most gossips will shift their attention elsewhere if they see that you're not a source of interesting or dramatic information. Remember, protecting your peace doesn't mean becoming isolated. It means choosing who you let close and how much of yourself you choose to share. At this stage in life, you've earned the right to guard your well-being fiercely. You deserve to feel safe, respected, and at ease in your own space. Setting clear boundaries with intrusive neighbors is not selfish, it's self-care. 11. Living authentically and choosing wisely. Reaching our senior years brings a valuable realization. Peace, purpose, and genuine joy matter far more than pleasing everyone or simply staying busy. Living authentically means aligning daily choices with the values and passions that have shaped your life. Choosing wisely means investing your time, energy, and heart only in people and pursuits that uplift you. This mindful approach transforms your days into a tapestry of meaningful experiences rather than a series of obligations. To begin, reflect on what truly nourishes your spirit. Perhaps it's tending a small garden, mentoring a young neighbor, painting landscapes, or volunteering at your local library. These are the activities that energize you and remind you of your strengths. Conversely, note what drains you: endless small talk, critical company, or tasks that feel like chores rather than passions. Recognizing these patterns helps you say yes to what matters and no to what doesn't. Applying this philosophy to relationships is equally empowering. Family members, old friends, neighbors, or community acquaintances may all vie for your time and attention. Ask yourself, does this person respect my boundaries? Do I feel seen and valued after spending time together? If the answer is consistently positive, nurture that connection. If not, if interactions with certain individuals leave you feeling depleted or uneasy, it's perfectly acceptable to scale back, limit visits, or suggest meeting in group settings where the dynamic is lighter. Financial and social commitments can benefit from the same scrutiny. Are you attending clubs or events out of habit, guilt, or expectation? Or do you genuinely look forward to them? If an activity no longer excites you, give yourself permission to step away. Choose smaller groups or activities that align with your interests, like a book club focused on your favorite genre, a walking group for gentle exercise, or a continuing education class in a subject you've always loved. Honoring your limits is a key part of authenticity. It's better to offer a sincere "I'm resting today" than to force a smile at an event you dread. As seniors, we've earned the right to prioritize rest, joy, and the relationships that honor our worth. Remember, every no to a draining obligation is actually a yes to something more fulfilling, whether that's an afternoon with a good friend, a creative hobby, or simply time spent in reflection. 2. The self-serving neighbor. As we grow older, we tend to value our time and energy more than ever. We've learned that not all friendships or neighborly connections are equal. Some give us joy, while others quietly take a toll. One type of neighbor that can drain our energy without us noticing at first is the self-serving neighbor. This is the person who seems warm, approachable, and even kind, until you begin to notice a pattern. They only seem to reach out when they need something. It might begin with small requests, like borrowing a tool or asking for a ride. Before long, you're picking up their groceries, feeding their pets while they're away, or handling things they could easily do themselves. It becomes clear that their idea of being a good neighbor is mostly about what they can get from you. While helping others can be fulfilling, especially for those of us who were raised to be generous and community-minded, it's important to recognize when generosity becomes a one-way street. Constantly giving without any real appreciation or reciprocation can be deeply draining, both emotionally and physically. Over time, what once felt like a neighborly favor can start to feel like a burden. You may even begin to feel manipulated, taken for granted, or guilty for wanting to say no. This kind of dynamic is especially challenging for older adults who may already be dealing with their own limitations, reduced mobility, health concerns, or simply the desire to enjoy a quieter, more restful lifestyle. The last thing you need is someone who adds stress to your days under the guise of friendship. That's why learning to recognize and manage self-serving neighbors is key to protecting your peace and preserving your strength. Start by taking stock of the relationship. Are the requests increasing? Do they ever offer help in return? If the answer is no, it's time to re-establish balance. You don't need to confront them aggressively. Just start saying no when it doesn't feel right. A polite, "I'm not available this week," or "I have a lot on my plate right now," is enough. You don't owe anyone detailed explanations. If they truly respect you, they'll understand. And if they don't, Their reaction will tell you everything you need to know. Over time, these small acts of assertiveness help to reframe the relationship. The self-serving neighbor may learn that you're not an endless resource, or they may simply move on to someone more willing. Either way, you regain control over your time and energy. The goal isn't to shut people out. It's to make space for relationships that are mutually respectful and uplifting. In your golden years, every drop of energy counts. By setting clear limits with those who take more than they give, you honor your well-being and make room for genuine connections that bring joy, not obligation.
If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward.
The disruptive neighbor. When we think about enjoying our later years, one of the most important desires many of us share is the need for peace and quiet in our daily surroundings. After spending decades juggling responsibilities, noise, stress, and unpredictability, retirement or semi-retirement offers us a precious chance to slow down, rest, and reclaim our time. That's why having a disruptive neighbor can be more than just a minor inconvenience. It can feel like a serious intrusion on your right to live in comfort. A disruptive neighbor isn't always intentionally disrespectful, but their behavior creates real challenges. This might include loud music, frequent late-night gatherings, poorly maintained property, barking dogs, or using shared spaces irresponsibly. What they see as normal can leave you feeling anxious, exhausted, or even unsafe in your own home. For older adults who rely on consistency and tranquility to support their health and emotional well-being, these kinds of disturbances can be especially harmful. Loud sounds can interfere with sleep, tension with neighbors can lead to chronic stress, and messy environments can even trigger feelings of sadness or frustration. You worked hard for the home and community you live in. You deserve to feel proud of and at ease in it. Yet when disorder spills over into your living space, it's difficult to feel settled or truly at peace. Dealing with a disruptive neighbor can be tricky, particularly if you're someone who avoids conflict. However, there are respectful ways to address the issue without escalating tension. One of the best approaches is to begin with kindness. Reach out directly and privately. For example, say something like, "I just wanted to check in. Sometimes the music at night makes it hard for me to sleep. I'd really appreciate it if you could keep it a bit lower after 9 p.m. Framing your concern as a personal feeling rather than a complaint often opens the door to cooperation instead of defensiveness. If direct communication doesn't bring change, you still have options. You can contact your neighborhood association, property manager, or even city services if community regulations are being violated. Documentation, like keeping a log of disturbances, can help if further steps are needed. Most importantly, take steps to protect your own serenity. Invest in noise-canceling devices or create a quiet retreat area in your home where you can read, rest, or relax. Go for peaceful walks or spend time in quieter areas like a local library or park to reset your nervous system. As we age, we realize more than ever that peace is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's okay to value your own comfort and to take action when it's being threatened. You can be a good neighbor while still prioritizing your well-being. Maintaining respectful boundaries and addressing issues calmly shows strength, not weakness. After all, your home is your haven, and you have every right to keep it that way. The borrower who doesn't repay money matters can strain even the closest family relationships, especially in our later years when financial security becomes more important than ever. For many seniors living on fixed incomes, every dollar counts, and lending money to a relative who never repays it can lead to not only economic stress, but emotional distress as well. This type of relative, often charming and persuasive, may lean heavily on the trust and love that comes with being family. They'll borrow money with promises to repay, only for those promises to quietly disappear over time. They might offer excuses, avoid the topic altogether, or even act offended if you bring it up. What makes this dynamic particularly painful is the sense of betrayal. You help out of kindness, only to feel used or disrespected later on. For older adults, lending money is often not just about generosity, it's a real sacrifice. That money may have been earmarked for medical expenses, home maintenance, or a much-needed trip. When repayment never comes, it can chip away at your peace of mind and erode the trust that once held the relationship together. Worse, if the relative continues to ask for more, you may find yourself caught in a cycle of guilt, obligation, and resentment. To protect both your finances and your emotional well-being, it's essential to approach these situations with clarity and strength. First, assess the individual's history. If they have a pattern of borrowing and not paying back, take that seriously. You're not being unkind, you're being realistic. If you still decide to offer help, consider setting clear terms in writing, even if it's family. Specify when the money should be repaid and under what conditions. While it may feel awkward to ask for something in writing, doing so ensures both sides understand the agreement and reduces the chance for misunderstandings. If you're not comfortable giving money directly, explore other ways to support your relative. Can you help them apply for assistance programs? Can you offer budgeting advice or connect them with financial resources in the community? These alternatives show care without putting your own stability at risk. Most importantly, know that it's okay to say no. You've earned the right to prioritize your well-being. You're not a bad person for choosing to safeguard your savings. You're being wise and self-respecting. Lending money should never come at the cost of your peace or security. A healthy family relationship is built on respect, not financial dependence. In the end, protecting your financial boundaries is an act of self-care. It reminds others and yourself that your contributions are valuable and that your generosity has limits. You deserve to enjoy your retirement years without carrying the weight of someone else's debts. Set the terms or step back and reclaim your peace.
If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward.
The self-absorbed relative. One of the most emotionally draining relationships we can have in our later years is with a self-absorbed relative. These individuals tend to treat family interactions as one-way streets, expecting constant attention, support, and validation, yet offering little or nothing in return. Conversations with them are often dominated by their problems, their opinions, or their latest dramas. They rarely ask how you're doing, and if they do, it's usually just a pause before turning the spotlight back on themselves. Over time, engaging with a self-absorbed family member can leave you feeling invisible, unappreciated, and emotionally depleted. For seniors who are seeking peace, connection, and mutual respect in their family interactions, this kind of relationship can be especially taxing. You may find yourself spending time listening to complaints or requests for help, yet receiving little compassion or understanding when you need a shoulder in return. It's not uncommon to feel guilty about pulling away, especially when family ties run deep. But maintaining your mental and emotional energy is more important than appeasing someone who treats your time and attention like a given. The key to handling a self-absorbed relative lies in recognizing the imbalance and protecting your emotional space with firm, respectful boundaries. First, pay attention to how you feel after each interaction. Do you feel uplifted or drained, energized or exhausted? These are important clues. When you realize the relationship is leaving you consistently depleted, it's time to reevaluate how much access this person should have to your time and energy. Don't be afraid to set limits on how long or how often you interact. If phone calls are a source of stress, let them go to voicemail and respond when you're ready. If in-person visits become overwhelming, shorten them or suggest meeting in a group setting where the dynamic is less intense. You can also set conversational boundaries. If they begin to monopolize the conversation or go on a negative rant, gently redirect the topic or end the call with grace. A simple, "I need to take care of something now, but I'll catch up with you later," is more than enough. If the relationship matters to you and you believe the person is capable of change, consider having an honest, calm conversation about how you feel. Use I statements such as, "I feel unheard when we talk," or "I sometimes need support too," to express your concerns without assigning blame. Whether they change or not, you've spoken your truth, and that's a powerful step toward protecting your well-being. At this stage in life, relationships should bring comfort, not chaos. Surround yourself with people who listen, care, and respect your boundaries. Being related doesn't mean being obligated to carry someone else's emotional baggage. You deserve interactions that are mutual, kind, and fulfilling, and it's perfectly okay to distance yourself from those that aren't. 6. The lazy dependent relative family is often the first place we turn to in times of need, and most of us are happy to lend a hand when someone we care about is going through a rough patch. But there's a significant difference between helping someone temporarily and becoming their long-term crutch. A lazy dependent relative is someone who seems perfectly capable of managing their own life, but chooses instead to rely on others, especially family, for financial support, housing, transportation, or even decision-making. What starts as a helping hand can quickly turn into a permanent expectation, leaving you feeling used and overwhelmed. This type of relationship is especially hard on seniors who are entering or already in retirement. You may have spent decades working, saving, and planning for a more peaceful stage of life, only to find those plans disrupted by a family member who refuses to take responsibility for their own future. It's not just about the financial strain, although that can be significant. It's also about the emotional weight of constantly feeling responsible for someone who doesn't seem willing to help themselves. Over time, supporting a lazy dependent relative can affect your quality of life. You may find yourself making sacrifices, postponing a trip, cutting back on your own expenses, or even losing sleep, just to accommodate their needs. This imbalance can breed resentment and guilt, creating a toxic cycle that is hard to break. And the longer it goes on, the more the dependent relative may feel entitled to your help instead of grateful for it. To manage this situation, it's essential to establish clear and healthy boundaries. Begin by having an honest conversation. Let your relative know that while you care about them, your support cannot continue indefinitely without effort on their part. Set firm expectations. Whether it's a timeline for them to find work, move out, or contribute to household expenses. You don't need to apologize for this. In fact, by encouraging them to take responsibility, you're helping them grow and gain independence. You can also direct them to resources outside the family, such as job placement programs, community housing assistance, or adult education opportunities. Offering this kind of guidance shows that you still care, but also that your role is to support, not enable. If you continue to offer help, make it conditional on them taking specific steps toward independence, and if they refuse or ignore those steps, it's okay to say no to further support. Your retirement years should be a time of peace, not pressure. You've earned the right to enjoy your life without carrying the weight of another adult's poor choices. Protect your health, your finances, and your emotional well-being by setting limits. A loving family relationship should be built on mutual respect, not one-sided dependence. By encouraging responsibility and stepping back when necessary, you allow your relative the dignity to grow, and you reclaim the serenity you deserve. 7. Protecting your peace. Through boundaries. As we move through our later years, one of the most empowering things we can do is protect our peace. While we can't always control the world around us, we do have control over how we respond, how we manage relationships, and most importantly, how we preserve our well-being. One of the most effective tools for maintaining peace, especially when dealing with difficult neighbors or family members, is setting clear and respectful boundaries. Boundaries aren't about cutting people off. They're about defining what's acceptable and what's not in our lives. They let others know how to treat us and remind us that we deserve to feel safe, respected, and at ease in our own space. For older adults, setting boundaries can feel unfamiliar, especially if we were raised in a time when saying no was considered rude or selfish. But times have changed, and so must we. Being generous and kind is a beautiful trait, but when it leads to constant exhaustion, resentment, or emotional discomfort, it's time to reassess. Whether it's a neighbor who drops by uninvited, a relative who never repays borrowed money, or a friend who always brings negativity, boundaries are the solution that helps you take back control of your time and energy. The first step is recognizing what drains you. Pay attention to how certain interactions make you feel. If you dread a phone call, visit, or favor request, that's a sign a boundary is needed. Then, decide what you're comfortable with and communicate it clearly. For example, if you prefer no unannounced visits, you might say, "Please call before stopping by. I need quiet time during the day." If someone keeps asking for help you can't give, try, "I'm not able to assist right now, but I hope you find the support you need." Keep your tone calm and kind, but firm. It's also helpful to practice saying no without guilt. You don't need to justify every decision. A simple "I'm not available" or "that doesn't work for me" is enough. If someone reacts negatively, that says more about their expectations than your boundaries. Over time, people will begin to understand how to treat you. And if they don't, you'll have peace in knowing you made the right choice for your own well-being. Setting boundaries may feel uncomfortable at first, but the peace it brings is worth it. You'll find you have more energy, better relationships, and a greater sense of freedom. Most importantly, you'll be living in alignment with your values. In this stage of life, you've earned the right to choose what fills your days. Let peace, comfort, and respect be the standard, not the exception. With strong boundaries, you don't just protect your life from unnecessary stress. You shape it into the haven it was always meant to be.
If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 7 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward.
8. Embrace selective engagement. By the time we reach our later years, we've likely realized that not every interaction is worth our time, and not every relationship deserves a front-row seat in our lives. This is where the practice of selective engagement becomes not only useful, but necessary. Selective engagement is the conscious choice to give your time, energy, and presence only to the people and activities that truly enrich your life. It doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. It means recognizing that your time is valuable and your energy is finite. For seniors, especially those navigating retirement or managing health concerns, protecting both becomes essential for peace of mind and emotional well-being. Many of us were taught to always say yes, to be helpful, available, and accommodating. But as we age, we discover that constantly being available can come at a steep price. When others expect you to always be on call, to listen, to solve their problems, or to lend a hand, you may find yourself drained, frustrated, or even resentful. That's not a recipe for a joyful life. You're allowed to prioritize yourself. In fact, at this stage of life, it's wise to do so. Selective engagement starts with knowing your limits. Ask yourself, does this person energize me or exhaust me? Do I leave this conversation feeling valued or used? When the answers point to a pattern of imbalance, it's time to shift the dynamic. Start saying yes only when it feels right. If someone asks you to help and you're tired or overwhelmed, it's okay to say, "I'm not up for it today." If a friend frequently calls to complain but never listens in return, limit your time with them or suggest a more positive focus. The goal isn't to cut people off. It's to ensure that your time is spent in a way that feels rewarding, not draining. This philosophy also applies to community obligations, family events, or even volunteering. While staying active is important, overcommitting can become a burden. Choose activities that genuinely bring you joy and connection. If something begins to feel like an obligation rather than a pleasure, consider stepping back or finding a role that suits your energy level. Selective engagement allows you to create a life filled with meaning rather than noise. When you say no to what no longer serves you, you make space for the relationships and experiences that do. You don't need to explain or justify every choice. Simply honor what feels right for you. Your presence is a gift, and it should be shared with people who appreciate it, not expect it. Living with intentionality is one of the greatest rewards of aging. It gives you the freedom to choose peace over pressure, fulfillment over fatigue, and love over obligation. Embrace selective engagement and enjoy the richness it brings to your days. 9. Create a personal sanctuary and embrace distance when needed. As we grow older, our home becomes more than just a physical space. It becomes a reflection of the life we've built and a sanctuary for rest, healing, and joy. That's why it's especially important in later life to preserve this environment as a place of comfort and calm. Unfortunately, not everyone around us contributes to that peace. Whether it's a disruptive neighbor, an emotionally draining relative, or a social commitment that feels more like an obligation than a pleasure, the noise of the outside world can sometimes spill into our sacred space. When that happens, it's time to create protective strategies, starting with building your personal sanctuary and embracing respectful distance from those who disrupt your well-being. A personal sanctuary doesn't have to be extravagant. It can be as simple as a cozy reading corner, a sunlit porch, a quiet garden, or a favorite chair by the window. The key is to create a space where you feel completely at ease, safe from outside stress. Consider small changes that increase serenity: soundproofing curtains, calming music, an indoor plant, or soft lighting. These touches help remind you that this is your space, your retreat, and your peace zone. At the same time, we must recognize that not all relationships are meant to stay close. Sometimes, maintaining harmony requires a little distance, even from people we've known for years. That could mean limiting conversations with a relative who always complains, spending less time with a neighbor who thrives on gossip, or declining invitations that leave you feeling more drained than uplifted. This kind of distance isn't about cutting ties. It's about protecting your peace and choosing who gets access to your emotional space. For many older adults, this kind of boundary setting can be life-changing. It allows you to reserve your energy for relationships that are truly supportive and reciprocal. It also gives you the chance to reclaim your time for things that bring you happiness, like hobbies, faith, time in nature, or simply being alone with your thoughts. Solitude, when chosen on your own terms, can be incredibly nourishing. And remember, distance doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself to make wise choices about where your attention goes. A simple, "I'm keeping things low-key right now," or "I need a little more quiet these days," is often enough to explain your shift without causing offense. Most people will understand, and those who don't may have been part of the problem all along. At this stage of life, your comfort, joy, and mental clarity are too precious to compromise. By creating a personal sanctuary and practicing respectful distance from the chaos of others, you give yourself the gift of peace. And in doing so, you shape a life that is not just quieter, but richer, more intentional, and deeply fulfilling. 10. Handling disruptions with diplomacy and community support. In our later years, the comfort of home and neighborhood is essential for physical health, mental well-being, and restful sleep. Yet even the best-kept communities can experience occasional disturbances: a neighbor's late-night music, persistent construction sounds at dawn, or unmanaged common areas that become eyesores or hazards. When these disruptions occur, responding with calm diplomacy, rather than frustration or avoidance, often leads to faster, more respectful resolutions. First, document the specifics. Keep a simple log noting the date, time, and nature of each disturbance. Is the noise recurring every Tuesday? Does it peak at inconvenient hours like early morning or late evening? This record helps you communicate clearly without relying on vague impressions. It also demonstrates respect for facts and can support any follow-up you choose to take. Next, initiate a private, face-to-face conversation if possible. Choose a moment when you and your neighbor are both unhurried. Begin with I statements that focus on your experience. I've noticed the music coming through my walls around 10 o'clock, and it's been hard for me to sleep. This approach emphasizes your need rather than accusing, fostering cooperation instead of defensiveness. Offer a practical suggestion, perhaps agreeing on quiet hours between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., and thank them in advance for their understanding. A sincere expression of gratitude goes a long way toward preserving goodwill. If the issue persists, turn to community resources. Many neighborhoods have homeowner associations, property managers, or local mediation services whose purpose is to uphold shared guidelines and facilitate peaceful living. Present your documented log and explain your attempts at direct communication. A mediator can often guide both parties toward a fair compromise without escalating the conflict. Simultaneously, take steps to strengthen your own sanctuary. Investing in heavy drapes, soundproofing curtains, or draft-resistant windows can significantly reduce unwanted noise. Creating a designated quiet corner, complete with a comfortable chair, good lighting, and perhaps a favorite indoor plant, gives you a reliable refuge. Noise-canceling headphones or a white noise machine can also help you focus on reading, conversation, or restful sleep when external sounds become unavoidable. Throughout this process, practice gentle self-care. It's natural to feel frustrated, but harboring stress can affect your mood and health. Incorporate small rituals, such as daily walks, deep breathing exercises, or brief moments of mindfulness, to restore calm. Remember, you have a right to serenity in your home. Addressing disruptions with respect for both yourself and others shows strength and self-respect. By combining thoughtful communication, community support, and simple environmental adjustments, you can navigate disturbances gracefully and preserve the peaceful life you deserve. Living authentically and choosing wisely is not selfish. It is self-respect in action. It sends a clear message to yourself and to others that your time is precious. By curating a life filled with purpose, warmth, and mutual respect, you ensure that your golden years are truly golden. Embrace this freedom to shape each day with intention and enjoy the richness it brings to your journey. In every stage of life, especially our later years, true peace and fulfillment come from the choices we make about who and what we allow into our day-to-day world. One key lesson is that boundaries are not barriers, but bridges to self-respect. They let others know how to treat us and remind us that our time, energy, and emotional well-being are precious. Equally important is selective engagement, saying yes only to people and activities that uplift us, and gently declining those that leave us drained. When external noise or demands threaten our calm, we have both the right and the wisdom to address disruptions with kindness and firmness, whether by directly communicating needs to a neighbor or calmly redirecting family requests.
Thank you for joining us today. We would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today, how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue to create great content to inform and inspire you. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.